Today we're going to see MBLD European record attempt by Krzysztof Bober from Poland. So he's just preparing for the attempt. He's going to attempt 52 cubes. This was done in a competition last week in Poland. So as you can see, he's preparing up. He's just checking out his surroundings. He just kept the ID card below the table just to make the table even, which is a really good solution, ad hoc solution, but it works. He's using a towel to just dry up his hands. So it's used mostly in 3 by 3 speed saws. So when the hands get sweaty, you need a towel nearby your side. But first time I'm seeing this in MBLD. As we can see, he's also having a side blocker on his head. Camel Perisky also has side blocker, and similarly, Krzysztof Bober also thought of having it. It's a really good thing. I also tried. It helps focus a bit. And just before that time, he's just adjusting the wobbliness of the table. A bit disappointed. There are two timers that will be marking his attempt time. So this is just few minutes before the attempt. This is one of the most nervous moments in like in any MBLD attempt. Just a few seconds below you start. Mostly you're just revising the rooms and making sure you get the order right. You don't skip any rooms and so on. So Krzysztof Bober has been grinding MBLD for quite a while. So I don't think so he'll be messing up with the order of the rooms, but definitely he needs to just clear off his mind of any other thoughts. And yeah, he has a nice tablecloth. As the MBLD cover, the judge will start both the stopwatches while Krzysztof Bober removes the sheet. So he's starting with the first pack, and the first cube is the top left cube. His orientation is white top and green front. So he quickly finishes tracing the first cube, picks up the second cube quickly. So I'll be going through this attempt. The attempt is spaced at around 45 minutes memo time, but this video is sped up at 1.5 times. So you'll be hearing about half an hour of me talking and about half an hour of tracing. The reason why I'm doing this video, because like 3-4 years back and all along those 3-4 years, I thought of maybe I wanted to make MBLD a bit more enjoyable. The reason being that most of the time MBLD is shown to the general public or the general speed cubers is just you have a music video kind of feel. You just speed up the attempt and you just put some background music. We really don't know what is the technical aspect happening. But right now for the next half an hour we'll be covering tracing, and it's quite hard to share the thought process what happens during the tracing, because it's generally very personal, and people they have their own systems. But as we can see, we can definitely make out that whenever he's this is the first pass of the first eight pack of cubes. You can clearly see that he's touching his nose and ears, and that's a very common sign that people do, and even I do it most of my times in my MBLD times. So touching face is a good way of making, just triggering the brain a bit that you are doing something that you should be remembering. So yeah, so first pass is done. Now the second pass is starting. It's quite fast, because the first pack is the pack where you are like the freshest. Your brain is so fresh that you want to race through it. So just that evening before the attempt, he experienced Krzysztof Bober experienced some kind of a migraine, so he took quite a lot of rest and he wasn't feeling that great, but still he managed to pull off a 42 point record. So he the attempt, if it's not a spoiler, but the attempt went as 47 out of 52, which is 42 cubes, and it beats Moscow's record. So Moscow's record stood for 2958 days, which is an insane amount of time. I guess it's almost 8 years or something. And finally, after 8 years, Krzysztof Bober beats it. Kamil Priski was quite close to beating it 3 years or 4 years back, but it was a corner to his DNF, which denied him the European record. Yep. So Krzysztof is done with the first 8 pack. He's going to the second 8 pack. There's no visible slowdown. In the first pass, when you are doing an MBLD, you have to spend a few extra seconds in arranging the cubes a bit, bringing them in your own orientation. Also, first pass is what I feel is the hardest pass, because there is new information, and sometimes you don't the information doesn't click in your brain straightforwardly, and there's chance that you might miss a few things. So that's why in generally in MPLD people do 4 pass, so they see each cube around 4 times. Generally the cubes that they are doing in short-term memory, or the last cubes, are done most probably in like a 3 pass, or most probably a 2 pass, and the very very last cube is done as a 1 pass, as it's similar to a 3 BLD cube. But mostly even the last cube people try to do it as 2 pass. So yeah, this is the first pass of the second pack that Krzysztof is doing. There's a bit of sun that's coming through the building, and if you closely see the window, there is you can judge that he's on the third or fourth floor in a very old architecture type building in Poland. So yeah, we have him now trying to get more creative with his hand movements. We can clearly see that he's trying to make the stories more and more vibrant in order for them to stick. So it's a very very minute thing to observe, but whenever you see any MBLD videos which are not sped up and there's no music in the background, it's like seriously, if you want to study MBLD videos, what you try to do is you just see when the person is speeding up or slowing down. So generally what might take is there is a very minor ramp in the way you try and visualize things as you move on to the next packs, because your brain has to be more aware about the new knowledge that you have, as well as preserve the things that you just remembered few seconds back. So that's why it gets a bit tricky when you come to the third or fourth packs, and that's where most of the blankouts happen in general, in my case. But yeah, it's very important to maintain a really good pace. MBLD has been compared to marathons a lot of times, so it's an event where pacing is quite important. So as you can see, the sun is completely on this second 8 pack. It's quite difficult to see the stickers when you have a lot of sun coming, because it casts a shadow and definitely can obstruct the view. And plus Krzysztof Bober is wearing a side blocker, which may cause him to get a bit disturbed with all the sunlight and all the stuff. So he's finished the second pass of the second pack, and now he's gone to the third pack, already in the second cube of the third pack. So basically this is cube number 18 in his memo. So in his mind palace, spot number 18 or locus number 18 or 36, depends on how many locus he keeps for one cube, is being encoded. So clearly we are seeing the pacing is going quite well, and now we are seeing signs of him trying to slow down the pacing a bit, as he's trying to bring the cubes, the tracing, like he's trying to mix and match as to where he's tracing the cube. So like most of the people like Shivam, they try to trace the cube under the table, so it's a very comfortable spot. And people like me or Mark Bansky, they just keep the cube above the 8 pack and just have it like that and trying to memorize it. So as similar to what Krzysztof is doing right now, just have the cube above the 8 pack and try to memo it. So a lot of sunlight. He's sitting in the corner of a room, and very hard to judge by the acoustics, but I think it's a medium sized room. Yeah. Krzysztof has been grinding MBLD for about a year, I think, and even before that he was quite good. So that's what it takes to really break a record in MBLD. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of consistency and patience that you require, and obviously a lot of hard work. So we are finishing up with the first pass of the third pack. he immediately doesn't take any rest and he goes to the second pass of the third pack. He's just trying to dry up his hands, and now he's speeding up in his visualizations, which kind of hints me to say that the third pack has a little bit easier scrambles. But I could be wrong. It could be just that he's pulling off some magical reviews, and he's quite fast in reviews as well. So reviewing is one of the most crucial phase in MBLD. So I wouldn't technically call second pass as a review, because we are kind of encoding the information again so that it sticks well. But third pass and the fourth pass are definitely like known as reviews. So yeah, so we are seeing him trying to do the sixth cube in, and yeah, there is a fly in the camera, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't bother us too much. If you remember, a decade back, Moscow used to do MBLD attempts in this kind of typical environments. He used to be in a very, very large room. I don't think so. This room is quite large, but quite a large room, and he used to be alone, and there used to be a Tonya with him, and he used to do his rigmarole, and he used to like be very expressive while memoing. And I remember he used to have Pikachu and everything by his side. He was quite a madman, even to a speed cuber. It's incomprehensible what the kind of attempts he was doing a decade back. So yeah, we are seeing the third pass happening right now. The third pass is quite smooth. What I really like about Krzysztof Bober's cube arrangement is that he has the first pack right at the back, and this is what not many cubers use. Even I, Ro, Hessler, Graham, Shivam, I'm saying I'm not a good MBLer, but I'm just giving my own example because I have a bit of info about myself. So yeah, generally I keep the first pack at the bottom left of the table, but it's always good to put it at the top left of the table. In that case, you have to reach out more during the third pass, but you won't have to bother that during the execution, after you have done your short term cubes and you're going towards the first pack, you will just topple up the cubes. It can be an issue, but I think so this is much better having it on the top left. Okay, third pass finished for the first pack, and now the third pass for the second pack, happening quite fast. He's having quite the linear way of reviewing. He does 8 cubes at once. Back in the day, a decade back, people what they used to do is they used to review 2 cubes again and then review the 8 cubes. So that used to add an extra pass. Yeah, but nowadays people have gotten quite good. No one does 5 pass, I think, unless it's a very super safety attempt. Generally it's just 4 pass, and people are on the verge of even doing 3 pass MBLD attempts, which is crazy. I can't imagine how 3 pass MBLD attempts will be done, but it's definitely possible even with letter pairs. So with letter quads, I think if you are very comfortable with letter quads, the information becomes not exactly half. Technically it should be half, but it's not exactly half. It's about how well you compactify the information and make your brain work less as compared to letter pairs when you come to letter chords. But yeah, it all depends. So we are having the third review of the third pack. The sun is dipping a bit. Yeah, he looks quite comfortable. Looks like the memo is sticking quite well. Generally like 15-20 minutes into the MBLD attempt, you really have to be focused. That's when the memo either sticks or you just kind of say, oh my god, today is not the day, let me just stop, I'm not feeling it. So generally people who don't do daily practice, like people like me, they have these feelings every MBLD attempt, but it's not the case for Krzysztof Bober, because he has grinded well before this attempt. Also due to the corona pandemic, he has had quite a lot of time without competition, so it has helped him practice a bit without pressure. So yeah, the third pack finishes for the third review, and we are seeing a very faint fourth, the third review or the fourth pass on the first pack. A very faint review. So I'm a big fan of faint reviews. And back in the day, a decade back, Moscow used to do faint reviews by he used to like basically just dance with his hands, if you want, if that makes sense. So what he used to do is he was sitting in a chair. He was not literally dancing, but his hands used to dance for sure in various poses, the Pikachu poses or all the anime characters that he had. Yep. So we have a very faint fourth review from him, a little bit of animation to make the memo very memorable. And it's very important to make the memo memorable. People underestimate it a lot. The advantage is that it sticks well during execution and you make less pauses. And the more memorable the memo, the more it will stick. So we have Christoph getting fully animated about the first pack. I think so is fully internalized. The first pack he will definitely not forget the first pack for additional 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 hours minimum. Yeah, generally people debate also about how long you remember the MBLD attempt, and it's a very subjective thing. For me, I remember the MBLD attempts quite a lot, so I can remember the memo of my MBLD attempts in a very insignificant attempt 4 years back, but I still remember it. So that's why my long-term memory is very stubborn, but once it encodes the information, it takes a lot of time to move it to the recycle bin. Yeah, I think so. It's a very tough to guess what other top MBLDers have about how long the memo sticks. But in our case, in a normal WCA MBLD attempt, the memo should stick only for 1 hour. So in that case, having fourth review done, fully animated fourth review, a fourth pass or the third review done is really good. So he's finishing up with the first 24 cubes, and generally those you can say are the backbone. So generally Shivam's backbone is the first 8 packs or the first 16 cubes, and he rarely DNFs any of those cubes if you have seen each and every of his MBLD attempts, official or unofficial. So generally for Graham it's first 4 packs, for first 4 8 packs where he's completely solid. Very less DNFs happen from them. Now we can see Krzysztof trying to make sure that the first 24 cubes that he is doing, there will be like no mistakes, no two flipped edges or twisted corners in there. Yeah, as I'm seeing this scene more and more, I'm noticing that this table looks like to be an adjustable table and of good timber quality. That looks good for MBLD. So he's wasted about 3 to 4 seconds to make sure the other 8 packs are like brought together. But yeah, it's definitely faster than what beginners do. Beginners take a lot of time to arrange the cubes, and yeah. Now this is quite a critical phase, you can say, because he's coming from the fourth pass on the third pack and going to the first pass on the fourth pack. Your mind kind of has to switch a bit here. So this is where people kind of treat MBLD as two small MBLD attempts. So the as you can say, you can safely say that Krzysztof's first MBLD attempt was a 24 cube attempt, and the second one is going to be all these remaining cubes. Yep. Yep. I think so. I made a mistake. He's not having an 8 pack, he's having a 10 pack. Extremely sorry about that, but yeah. So he has finished the memo of around 30 cubes and he's only left with 22 cubes. So yeah, this is again a big debate. Graham and Shivam uses 8 packs 8 cubes per pack, whereas Rowe and Krzysztof Bober use 10 cubes for one pack. It's both systems are really good. It boils down to personal preference. So we are seeing the fourth pack first pass being done. He's maintaining quite a bit of confidence because it's a lot of information right now at this point. He has to keep the four passes that he did for the previous 30 cubes and also encode this first pass of the next cube. This is kind of the tricky phase of MBLD, I think. Memoing is one of the most like technical part I can say of MBLD. Execution also is, but execution matters more when you are in 3BLD, 4BLD, 5BLD solving. Memo is something which can like astronomically change your attempt or the feel for your attempts in MBLD. So yeah, we are seeing the little bit of motions in the second pass itself. So it looks like he will be just doing 3 pass for this remaining 22 cubes. Okay, we are seeing a little bit of bending and bit of tiredness, but yeah, definitely I would not rule this out because he definitely has a lot of stamina for MBLD. He has grinded out a lot. People like you and me mostly would wear out by the first pack itself if we maintain this pacing. But yeah, he's maintaining this pacing and also encoding it well, and it's quite good to see. So yeah, the first pass is done, and very interesting that he chooses to do the first pass of the fifth pack as well, which means to say that he's kind of rushing the last 10 packs a bit. Rushing it is quite good, I guess, because we do not have to memo the last 22 cubes for an eternity. It's just for the like 10-ish minutes that you need to retain the memo. It's quite a tough thing to decide how many reviews you have to do. It's not a mathematical problem, it's mostly a personal kind of thing that you have to see what works and what doesn't work. You can sit down and try and mathematically formulate it out. So you can say I'll just have 4 pass for the first 3 packs, 3 pass for the rest of the packs, but then there will be something that will click more and you have to improvise a bit even on the day of the attempt, even if you have pre-planned everything. So people do not know this, but MBLD does have a bit of improvisation that you have to do. Like speed cubing itself is about improvisation. Um, um, at least the longer events. The shorter events are purely technical. It's algorithm based, like a cube and 2x2. It's mostly about finger tricks and just one looking it perfectly. But long attempts like MBLD are very similar to improvisation, and it's like you can compare it to music even, because in music you have to improvise, and you can also compare it to running. When in running also you have to improvise a bit, because you don't have to improvise, you have to maintain the pacing. So that's another aspect of 1 hour long events, that you have to maintain a pacing in order to reach the desired number of cubes that you have set up. So yeah, we are seeing the second pass of the fifth pack. He is doing an even number of cubes, so that means to beat Moscow's record, he needs 47 or better. If he gets 46 out of 52, it will be 40 points, and it won't be enough. Moscow has 41 out of 41 in 54 minutes, 8 years back, but this is what 47 is the magical number he's aiming for. So during the post in his description, he wrote that there was a cube where he tried and second guessed the inverse of a setup move of a com, and he second guessed it quite right, and the cube turned out to be just a +2. So yeah, that cube was definitely the cube that made sure that he got the European record. Otherwise, it would have been a 40-point attempt. A little bit of animation. We are seeing also the upper body being involved in the review process, other than the hands, and also the lip movements have increased a bit more. I can't track the eye movements a lot, but generally the eye movements are quite less. Uh, I've observed all the top solvers. The eye movements, you can't have it too high because otherwise your brain will think you're just in a dream, and maybe you will just lose focus. You have to be focused in the reality, at the same time just being animated enough to make sure the memo gets encoded. So compared to memory sports, MBLD is definitely a bit tougher because each cube presents different length of information. So easier scrambles have generally 8 letter pairs, but harder ones have generally 11 or 12 8 letter pairs. So we are seeing the second pass of the fourth pack. The speeding up is increasing. We are seeing him being quite it's like basically he's like talking to himself, which looks quite crazy for a person who doesn't know anything about this event, but it's something which you have to do. You have to talk to yourself in order to just echo the memo a bit more in your vocal cavity and your mouth, to make sure the brain gets a little bit more of information through the vibrations that you create in your mouth. Uh, so your brain is trying to get input via the light, or you seeing the cube, tracing out a cube, but you need to have some more senses involved. Uh, Generally, all the 5 senses involved will be good, but you can't involve the ears and the nose. Definitely, it's not possible. But yeah, at least the remaining three you can involve with. The remaining two, the touch, you touch your face sometimes to reassure, okay, this is what you have memorized, please make a note of it, subconscious brain. Or you can just use your eyes and do some like rapid eye movements, like behavior, just to get things clarified in your head and make sure the locus, whatever you encoded in the locus, sticks. So yeah, the review is happening in quite a quiet fashion. I guess this is the third review of the fifth pack, but the third review went really smoothly. There wasn't any like rapid hand movements or hand gestures, which shows that he's quite confident about the fifth pack. And I think so. It's a bit of a gamble. I can guess, but yeah, I definitely I don't know how exactly MBLD works at 50 cube level. I'm not at that level, but definitely it's the third pass looked very smooth. So now we are seeing the second pass of the last two cubes, and he's going to start with the memo anytime now. Start with the execution. So now, as you can see, he's removing the side blocker, putting the blindfold down. Before that, he has to put the harmonica holder with the side, what you can say, the the page in front, or it's again a side blocker. So we see him starting with the exec. So yep, he's done with the first cube. The first cube went quite fine. He's doing corners, the edge exec first, and then the corners one. No, he's doing the corners exec first and then the edge one. It depends. Like sometimes whatever you remember first. Excellent. The third cube was quite fluid. We are seeing a lot of comps being done, S prime, U prime, R prime, ER to E prime, R to comps, but it's very hard to comment it what exactly the reconstruction is. We our cubing hasn't reached that level that we start reconstructing entire MBLD attempts, but definitely it will reach that level one day. Okay, we are seeing the fifth cube exec right now. Bit of a pause, and we see a DNF in the corners. Bit of second guessing there, but definitely this fourth and fifth pack is the crucial pack. This is where the memo either sticks or doesn't stick. He was a bit unsure about the sixth cube, but it turned out to be right. Bit of pause before the corners. He has remembered the edges well. So we have the first 7 cubes done perfectly. Eighth cube was also fine. We just have one DNF till now. That looks like a fancy comp that he did. The RUD turning is also looking quite good. His finger tricks are quite sleek, and judging by the cube, it's the finger tricks are quite good. It looks mostly like Yushin Little Magics or Meilongs, but I have to make sure what the cubes are. The one thing for sure is that all the cubes looks to be same and they are stickerless. So yeah, this is the 12th cube now. The pacing is quite fast. In the last 3-ish minutes, he is able to do the 12 cubes. So the speed is quite fast. Definitely sub 20 exec per cube, but overall the exec slowed down a bit. There are always some things that you second guess at the last. Nice parity algorithm that Twitter's algorithm that is trying to do, yeah, and nice parity algorithm. I think so it was a lefty JPEG. As you can see, the speed of the solving has increased a bit. Generally it happens for MBLD solvers, you get into the rhythm and your speed increases a bit. Little bit of Z prime rotations, but overall rotationless 3 style execution. He uses UF buffer, so those are one of the best buffers. I'm not sure if he does a lot of floating stuff or parity stuff, but if it does, it's definitely not full floating and full parity, because that is really insane. Okay, bit unsure, but he did the previous cube quite well. A bit of reassurance there. It's quite fast with his corner exec as well. Okay, bit of a pause here. So generally I have very big pauses in MBLD, but a well grinded cuber will have very less pauses for sure. This is where your daily practice or your every alternate day practice comes into picture. You should be able to pull through in the recall phase as well, because memoing is where you never get tested, you are just encoding, but the real test comes when you are executing, because you have to maintain the pacing, you have to remember the 3 style alg. Mostly the 3 style algs are already printed, so you don't have to worry that much about the 3 style algs, but you definitely do have to worry about the recall, and recall gets a bit tougher. So this is where he described, this is the first cube in the memo, and the 29th cube in the memo is where he kind of missed it a bit, missed one edge image. Bit of a shake of a head, but the cube is looking correct. Bit of pauses in the third cube. banging the cube against the table is always good to get the cube well well in shape, because it can get a bit flimsy. So we are seeing a DNF by a 3 cycle of edges on the third cube of the first pack. Oh my god, that exec was quite fast. Definitely 10-second exec there. Oh my god, this cube was a complete off by a turn in between. So definitely increasing the increasing the exec speed has its consequences. You can mess up the comp execution and do a slice move or one move off DNF. We have another DNF right here. So this is the third DNF in the first pack, and till now there are just 4 DNFs in the entire attempt. We are nearly 32 cubes done, with just 20 more cubes to be done, 24 cubes more to be done, and now 23 more cubes to be done. Okay, this is the second last cube of the first pack. There is Adrian Debsky and few other delegates right behind the camera for sure. We are seeing the second pack. He's a bit more confident in the second pack. The exec is looking strong. First the edges and the corners. The edges always from the EF buffer. Rarely you can see UB or UR comps being used. Even if they are being used right now, it's very hard to see from a person of view perspective. Wow, that scramble looked easy. Really solid parity execution, and he makes a +2 here, and this is the cube where he doubted a bit in the inverse of the setup move, and it's really good that he got a +2 instead of DNF. A +2 is something which MBLDers are completely fine with. uh, it's very rare occasion that they get pissed off on a +2. It's just the DNFs that it's very hard, especially when you are one more DNF of a record. So yeah, this is the second pack, and midway through, really solid RED turning. Yeah, really good cube noises right here. Bit of fear of toppling the cubes, because the number of unsolved cubes on the table are quite less now. We just have 11 unsolved cubes. Other than that, we have 4 DNFs till now. The 4th DNF most likely will be coming from the last pack. So the execution also was clutch, because it's a 19-minute execution and he was able to get it sub-hour. I'm definitely seeing 4 to 5 people in the shadows, so a bit of pressure if you have bad eyes, but yeah, I don't think so Krzysztof is being nervous because of the people surrounding him. It's definitely the 1 hour mark which is more nervous than that. Any builder can attest to that the 1 hour mark is kind of one of the biggest uh, big deal, you can say, in really making attempt good or a near miss. So we are seeing the sixth last cube being attempted. Definitely he'll be returning back to the first cube that he has kept aside. If it doesn't remember the first cube, then it will be 5 DNFs in total. Really fast turning. Now he's doing execution even below the table, which shows that his fingers are tiring a bit. But yeah, he can't take a break unless he's quite comfortable. But now it's a battle to do the exact complete before the hour mark, and he's just minutes away from the hour mark right now. We see a two corners DNF right now. This is the kind of the sixth DNF, you can say. The judge is getting excited. He knows that he has to press a button on both the timers in order to make a really accurate timing. He is disturbing the field of view. He's showing the stopwatch to the camera, but it's not visible. Krzysztof Bober is just keeping the two cubes in front of him. These are now the first cube and the 29th cube in front. The first cube is on the left, and the 29th cube he's forgotten the first few edge images. He's recalled it well. Bit of a pause execution, but still quite a flawless recall. And this is the crucial cue. He must make sure that he remembers this, otherwise it will be a 40-point attempt. You can see him completely relaxed. He's deep down into his mind palace. This is the first cube. This is the first bit of information that he recalled, and it's correct. The judge, as in every kind of MBLD attempt, we see a lot of people covering the camera. But yeah, the judge will do the counting, and it will be 42 points and a new European record by Krzysztof Bober from Poland, beating the previous world record held by Moscow 2,858 days back. So yeah, really good stuff. Thanks for watching.